I love this example because this is very real life and very close for a lot of you. Some of you are going to be thinking about buying a car. And the interest rates that are available. Oh, I have a perfect example to share with you once we're done this example, because it sounds like I'm buying a car tonight. Okay? What car? Just a little Honda HRV. Okay. We'll get to the story after we do the question. So if we plug in all of our values, okay, person borrows $15,000 to buy a car. So the present value, they would tell you what each of these things stand for. So in this case, the present value of the loan is $15,000, paying $300 a month. So that's your R value, 1 minus 1 plus I is the interest rate per compounding period. So it's 6% interest divided by 12. The negative n, because we're solving for n, divided by 0.06 by 12. And again, here's your power. You just have to do a little bit of extra work to begin with to get that power by itself. And once you realize that the extra work is just math that you've done before, it's not so bad. The formula initially, it does look quite complicated. But again, what are we going to do? We're going to multiply both sides by 0.06 over 12 so that these simplify. Take out our calculator. $75. Oh, it works up to a nice number. So now I would divide both sides by 300. Maybe I even leave this as a fraction. You see the square brackets aren't needed anymore. I want to get this power by itself. So, some things you could do. We could subtract 1 on both sides. If I subtract 1 on both sides, maybe I will go to my calculator. 75 divided by 300, subtract 1 is negative 0.75 equals negative. And at this point, I hope you will be very tempted to think you can do the log of both sides, but our power isn't by itself yet. There's still that negative in front. So to get the power all the way by itself, I would have to multiply both sides by a negative number. And now my power is all by itself. So I can take the log of both sides. That negative n will come out in front because of your log law. I'll just remind you that, oh, that's where that came from. And now we can get n by itself by dividing by the negative and the log 1 plus 0.06 divided by 12. divided by negative log 1 plus 0.06 divided by 12. I type this all in, I push enter, and n is 57.68. So you'd have to make 57 full payments of $300 and then one partial payment, whatever 0.68 is, times 300. Now this is where you'll find it interesting. You bought a $15,000 car, 57.68 times by 300, you actually paid $17,300 for it. It's something to take into consideration. How much extra are you actually paying for this vehicle when they give you a percentage rate? So again, we could put this into our app. So go to my app, go to finance. This time, everything, again, we're going to want to solve for n, so I'm just going to put a 0 in there, 6%. But now the present value, they give you the car, and it's worth $15,000. So we're going to put $15,000 here because you are given that money. By giving you the car, they're basically giving you $15,000. You're paying $300 a month, and in the end, you don't want to owe any money. So this would be how we put it into our calculator this time. Again, we can go up and alpha solve and 57.68. So now I can look at what's going on. I'm going to actually be bringing my graphing calculator today when we go buy our car, because they're trying to convince us, oh, you should really finance the car through them. And we will give you, as far as interest rates are, they will give us 8.5% interest. The car is roughly $32,000. And usually they say you can pay this over 5 years. So I know that I'm going to be paying over 5 times 12, 60 payments. How much do I have to pay each month? This program lets me do that as well. I just go alpha solve. Without having to do all of this, it would cost me $656 a month for the next 5 years. If I take this 656, get rid of the negative there, and times that by 60 payments, I find out that my $32,000 car will actually cost me closer to $40,000, which is $7,000 that I don't really want to pay. So I have some options. I mean, you know how I said about different interest rates? Okay, I have a possibility option of getting the money from somewhere else where I only pay 2% interest instead of 8.5% interest. What difference does that make? Well, now my payments are only $560 instead of, what were they, $650, $100 less a month. And in the end, times 300, wow, that's not right. I'll try that again. Times 60 payments, not 300 payments. So I take this number, I times it by 60 payments, and still it only costs me $1,600 more as opposed to $7,000 more. This seems to be the better option. But the car dealership, they get, when they sign someone up for a loan, they get a reward from the bank. They want the reward. So what they've agreed to do, the reward is so good for them. Then this is where knowing interest rates, we're like, well, I can get something better. Oh, but we really want our reward. And so we get into negotiations. So either lowers the price, so they still get their reward, or we'll see what happens. Because my wife said she was talking to them on the phone, and they might be willing to pay the interest for us for part of it. So we might just, the plan would be to start it off big, pay some of it off with the other part that's lower, and then have only a little bit And then that little bit, let's say that little bit was only 8.5. That little bit was only $5,000 alpha. So if we did that and got it down to $5,000 times 60 payments, it would still be $1,150 of interest, but maybe they'll give us a check for $1,150 for interest right away. I don't know. We're in the negotiation stages. But knowing how these values work is important for me tonight to find out how much am I going to actually spend on this car, right? If interest rates are high right now, like 8.5%, 2 years ago would have been crazy. No one would have said, you're never going to pay that much. But now that's like what's happening with our bank accounts. So it makes borrowing money more expensive. Which, the second thing, just to talk about things that are going to affect you in your life, the second thing that is the most expensive thing you'll probably ever buy in your life is a house. This program lets you quickly figure out, and again, similar ones are available online, that you plug in numbers and find out things. It lets you figure out how much are you actually spending on your house. So if you buy right now, interest rates for houses are like between 5.5% and 6%. So let's say you're paying 6% interest. Most houses you pay over 25 years. It takes you 25 years to pay for your house. So you go 25 by 12, you're going to pay 300 payments. You're going to buy a house. That house is going to come to you as a loan. Let's say you're buying a house worth $300,000. Actually, it's only compounded twice per year. Is a rule for mortgages in Canada, so I'll change the compounds per year to twice. Making monthly payments of $12,000. And you can figure out how much is this house going to cost me? $2,000 a month. Which is quite a bit of money, right? So you take that $2,000 a month, and you multiply that by 300 payments, and your $300,000 house, when you finally owe it, you will have paid $575,000 for it. Wow. That's crazy. But the difference between a house and a car is in 25 years, houses go up in value. Cars normally do not. Some do if they're collectible or whatever. But your regular car that you drive every day for work, in 25 years will be worth almost nothing. But look, okay, remember this number, 575. Okay? A year ago, you could get a mortgage for 2%. So let's see what difference 2% makes compared to 6%. So this one's up to 75. We started with 300,000. At 2%, I can now my monthly payments instead of $2,000 a month are $1,270 a month. And if I times that by 300, instead of paying $575,000 for my house, I paid $380,000. That's like almost $200,000 less. So when I said knowing how the interest rate makes an effect on a house is huge. Okay? Talk to your grandparents. Ask them what's the highest interest rate they've ever seen in their lifetime. I know that in a time in Canada in the 1980s, interest rates had gone as high as 18%, which Now doesn't make sense to buy your house, because if you look at this Alpha Solve, instead of, you're paying $4,400 a month for the same house. Interest rate is the only thing that's changed. Times 300 payments, $1.3 million. You're paying an extra $1 million in interest during your house. So then you might can say to yourself, I don't think it's worth it. I think I'll rent, because I don't want to pay that high interest rate. Okay? I'm going to go back to our first number. We started at 6%. Okay, I'm going to lower it down to 5.5%, which doesn't seem like a lot, half a percentage. Okay, and this is where knowing how interest rates work can save you money, because you probably can negotiate with the bank and go, it's only 0.5%. It's not that much. But if you figure out compared to the 575, this one times 300, that's $25,000. Would you work? Like, let's say you're getting your mortgage, so I'm going to take a day to work really hard and see if I can save 0.5%. What kind of job pays you $25,000 in a day? That's a pretty good job. And these are the things that you can use. This knowledge can save you money if you work at it. If you just go, oh, whatever, I'm okay with that, right? Realize how much you're paying, how much it's going to affect you. Knowing those numbers can help you make decisions. So, so some other. So let's say you've negotiated 5.5% and you're able to pay $1,830 per month. And then a couple years later, you get a raise in your job, and now you're making more money. Okay? What the average person does when they make more money is they keep all of their payments the same and just go, woohoo, I've got more money, I can spend more money. Which is not a bad thing. It's like, that's kind of fun, right? But if you would consider, so let's just write down some numbers. So at the 1831, okay, times by 300, this house is costing you $550,000 about. Costing you about $550,000. But now you're making some more money, your job is better, you can afford an extra $500 a month. Or you could spend that $500 on restaurants and brand new shoes every day. Ooh, very exciting. Right, you could, but if you decide, I would rather take this $500 and increase my payments. So instead of $1,800 a month, I'm going to increase my payments to $2,300. What that would do is it would make you pay off, payment, oh, wrong negative sign, there we go. It would make you pay off your house faster. Because you're paying more money, you're going to be paying off your house faster. So now, instead of 300 payments, it only takes you 197 to pay off your house. That extra $500 that you put in, if I now take the 2,300 and times by, well, 197.78. $450. So yes, you just knocked off $100,000 of interest, knowing what that extra money could do. Yes, you're taking away spending that $500 a month on other fun stuff. So this is a balance you have to figure out. But realizing that not only are you saving yourself $100,000 over the time, which then when you finally pay this house off, also 5 years quicker. Depends when you want to spend that money. Okay? So it's decisions you have have to make. If you're in university mode and you're like, I just drink water and eat mac and cheese and noodles all the time, right? Because you're saving money in university because you don't want to spend a lot of money, right? And you get a raise instead of switching from Kraft Dinner to McDonald's, right? Upgrading does cost money, right? You could stick with the Kraft Dinner because you're used to it and put that money away. You could be saving money over time. But again, it's nice to know what the numbers do. Knowing what the numbers do can help you make that decision, whether you want to save that money or pay the bank. So I'm going to find out tonight whether we're buying this car in one way or another. To be continued tomorrow.
Wait, what car is it again?
Honda HRV.